All right, let's jump right in. In May of 2024, the entire SEO world basically got turned on its head. Why? Because a massive internal data leak from Google's Content Warehouse API gave us the most detailed look we have ever had under the hood of Google Search. Today, we're going to break down what it all means, especially for one of the oldest, most argued about topics out there, links. Look, this was not just another data breach. As Shaun Anderson from Hobo SEO put it, this was a moment of profound clarification and vindication. For years, people who do this for a living have been working off of observation, a ton of testing, and some pretty solid theories. This leak? It was like finding the actual blueprints to a machine you've only ever been allowed to look at from the outside. And the sheer scale of this leak is just staggering. We are talking about over 2,500 pages of internal documentation. And get this, it detailed an incredible 14,014 different attributes. You can think of them as ranking features. This gave us a completely raw, unfiltered look at the building blocks Google uses to understand and rank the entire web. So let's get into the first major theme here, because this leak revealed a huge disconnect between what Google has been telling us in public for years and what its internal systems are actually built to do. For a long time, the search community has kind of suspected certain things were true, right? That Google uses some kind of site-wide authority score, or that user clicks really matter for ranking. But whenever asked, we'd get these very carefully worded denials from Google's public faces. Well, this leak provided the hard evidence, the proof that, yeah, those suspicions weren't just true, they were literally engineered right into the core of the system. And this slide just perfectly captures that contradiction. On the left, you've got Google's public stance. They've said over and over, we don't use a domain authority score. And you know what? Technically, they were telling the truth. They don't use the third-party metric with that name. But then you look at the right, the internal reality, straight from the leak, a confirmed site-wide metric called SiteAuthority. And this right here is the perfect jumping off point for understanding what really matters now. So this brings us to our first huge revelation. The leak confirms that, yes, Google absolutely calculates a single overarching authority score for an entire website. And believe me, it is way more sophisticated than just counting your backlinks. So what is this site authority thing? Well, the documentation describes it as a holistic measure. The best way to think about it is as a comprehensive quality score for your entire website. It's not just about links, it's a blended score that reflects the overall health and the perceived trustworthiness of your whole domain. So what actually feeds into this master score? It's a mix of some really powerful signals. You've got user engagement, which is measured by a system called Nav Boost. You've got content quality signals, including demotions that are literally left over from the old Panda update that was designed to weed out low-quality sites. There are even brand signals, and this one is crucial, a foundational trust signal that's based on the authority of your homepage. Now, what this actually means for you is that your website is judged as a whole. You know that forgotten low-quality blog post from 6 years ago? Cleaning that up or improving it isn't just an isolated fix anymore. That single improvement can actually help lift the site authority score for your entire domain, which in turn boosts the ranking potential of every other page on your site. It's all connected. Okay, let's get to what might be the most profound, the most game-changing part of this entire leak. It fundamentally changes how we have to think about the value of a link, because it turns out links don't really have inherent power on their own. They need users to validate them first. For literally decades, the whole game was just get the link. That was it. But this documentation reveals that a link's ability to pass any kind of value is conditional. It is not guaranteed. There's a gatekeeper, and that gatekeeper is user engagement. Specifically, clicks. Here's exactly how it works. Step 1, you get a link on a web page. Simple enough. But that link is effectively dormant. It gets put into what the documents call a low-quality tier inside of Google's link indexed. It's only when that source page, the page your link is actually on, starts getting real user clicks that the link gets promoted to a higher quality tier. And only then, in step 3, is its value finally unlocked. This means that links on pages that nobody ever visits are, for all practical purposes, completely worthless. And the engine driving all of this is a system called Nav Boost. It's this powerful re-ranking system that's constantly analyzing user click data from search results. It's looking for signals like good clicks, and this one's a big one, last longest clicks, which is basically the internal technical term for what we've been calling dwell time for years. It's the signal that a user clicked on a result and was actually satisfied. These are the clicks that power the entire link graph. So that brings us to our next core concept. If clicks are what activate the links, what's it that makes a link powerful to begin with? Well, the leak confirms it's not about who has the most links. It's about how closely connected your website is to known, trusted sources. First, let's talk about homepage PageRank. The documents show that every single page on your site inherits a kind of baseline authority from your homepage. It acts as a trust anchor for everything else. This also finally explains that old sandbox effect people used to talk about. New sites struggle because their homepage has zero trust to pass along. So investing in high-quality links directly to your homepage is probably the single most efficient way to lift the foundation for your entire site. And this trust gets measured by a really interesting modern version of PageRank called PageRank-NearestSeeds. So the system has this predefined set of absolutely trustworthy seed sites. Think major universities, government websites, top-tier news organizations. It then calculates a score based on your website's proximity, as in how many link hops away you are from those trusted seeds. All of a sudden, trust is no longer this fuzzy, abstract concept. It's a measurable distance. And this really leads to a whole new way of thinking about your link building strategy. The goal is not to just rack up the highest number of links. The goal is to reduce your distance to the trusted authorities in your field. One link from a site that's close to a seed site is worth so much more than hundreds of links from the disconnected wilderness of the web. So with all these incredible revelations, site-wide authority, links that need clicks to work, and this idea of proximity to trust, how do we tie it all together? What's the new unified strategy for this post-leak world? This table right here is basically your new cheat sheet. Site authority? That means we have to focus on overall site quality and user experience. The tiered link index? It tells us a link is literally worthless until its source page gets clicks. PageRank-NearestSeeds? That means we have to aim for proximity to authority, not just volume. And finally, you see attributes like anchor mismatched emotion, which shows there's a direct penalty for links that aren't topically relevant. It all has to work together. And what this all really boils down to is that the old way of thinking is officially dead. You could no longer just get a link on some forgotten page, check a box, and move on. The new model is a two-step process. First, you earn a great link on a relevant page. But then comes the second and absolutely crucial step. You have to do what you can to make sure that page gets real user engagement, because that's what unlocks the link's value. And that leaves us with this final thought, which is really the new mantra for anyone who works in search. It's no longer enough just to get the link. The real goal, the new goal, is to get the link and the click. That is the key takeaway from this incredible peek inside Google's machine. Thanks for tuning in.